Hey everybody, welcome to the Treyvis Show podcast. The show where if you're listening to this, you're probably one of my friends. Hello all three of you. So I'm doing my half-hour break, and I figured I'd do a little solo episode of my podcast. Why not, right? I'd like to talk about three things. The first one I'm going to bring up is this new Cobra Kai show. Now, some of you know I am a martial artist, and I obviously growing up in the 80s to 90s, born in the 80s, growing up in the 90s, I was a huge fan of the Karate Kid. And obviously, who isn't anyways, but you know, definitely my generation and maybe a little bit before mine really loved those movies. So I'm not going to go into too many spoilers, but guess what? There's going to be spoilers ahead. Now, ultimately, I kind of want to put it into a nutshell. I don't want to spend too much time talking about it, but long story, not long story short, it follows, it's called Cobra Kai. It follows Johnny Lawrence as an adult, and he's stuck in the 80s. He's still stuck in the past, even in his own past. He's trying to bring the dojo back, this, that, and the other thing, right? Watch the show. You'll like it. Still has a rivalry with Daniel Lawrence. They both have kids now. I can go into everything, but that's not my intention. What I do want to say is I think that given the budget that I think that the show has, the action's pretty good. It's very clean. Some people are saying that it's over choreographed. I would say that it's under choreographed, but I understand how this sort of thing goes. I've worked on a couple of small college film projects, and they rent space, and this was a very low budget, especially the first season. They rent space, they rent production time, and even equipment and stuff, and they got a certain amount of time that they got to do it. So people who are very capable of way better stunts, they have only a little bit of time to do it, so they do the best that they can, ultimately. Same thing with the acting. I bet they're great actors, but there are times where it kind of pulls you out of the storyline. This is not trying to be a super critical review. It's meant to be a campy show. I think the acting is okay. I think the stunt work, when it's good, it's good. When it's not, it's, little things. As martial artist goes, if you're watching the video, you'll get this. Having the fist cocked down, or up. The girl does this, yeah! And, maybe she was taught a pretty decent kata or what have you, but then she ends where it's pointed up or down, and that pulls a guy like me out of the suspension of disbelief, right? So then I start noticing other things that I probably wouldn't have noticed before, But I'll tell you what is good. Now, the script could be better, but the screenplay, the writing for the screenplay, the general storyline and where they're taking each of the characters, I think is spectacular. I think it is great. And I think it has huge connotations for our society as it is right now. It uses martial arts to tell a story. And part of that story is it's the yin and yang. Now, some people think yin and yang is probably good and bad, evil and good, or whatever. And why would there need to be a balance of good and bad? Doesn't make any sense now, does it? There does need to be a balance between masculine and feminine. Now, we could go into all the language stuff. I'm not getting into that, okay? That's a whole podcast on its own right, and I really don't want to. But that's the idea, is it's Masculine being hard and rough and abrasive and physical and loud and in your face. That's masculine stuff. Feminine is more passive, soft, flowy, less resistance. You get what I'm saying? Not so much physical, more mental, right? So you have these two schools in it, so when it starts following one character, Joey Lawrence, it shows the redeeming qualities of that super masculine way to teach. And it shows the toxic qualities, right? And toxicity is bad. Toxic behavior that includes manipulating people and damaging things, and usually damaging stuff is to manipulate. So ultimately, I think the ultimate, personally, at least in this show, the ultimate bad thing to do to somebody is manipulate, right? You can do this in a feminine way or a masculine way, right? So you have some of the redeeming qualities on Cobra Kai, but because the character has not learned, he goes and does some of the bad things too, but he learns from it. And I'm actually really impressed with that character. And then you're actually, unlike the previous movies, we're actually seeing the bad parts of the more feminine way to do karate, right? The Miyagi-Do, which isn't really Miyagi's fault, but he, Daniel is doing things. He's manipulating people. He's changing people's perceptions. He's attacking people's perceptions of Cobra Kai, even though that guy was definitely trying to make good use of the teachings, right? So he's doing a more passive way to do something toxic, right? So that being a feminine way. And the funny thing is for all you gender people out there, that's two dudes doing this, right? Obviously, one's more masculine, one's more feminine. Now, I believe that these relationship between masculinity and femininity is seriously out of balance in our society right now, and largely because of people's understanding of how it works. And I think that this show, whether they intended it or not, is actually really doing a good job of showing how that works. So check it out. Spent about 8 minutes on that, right? Check it out. There's a lot more to be said about it, but ultimately I think that the action could be better, but for the budget that I think that they're at, it's pretty good. I think that the script, some of the cheesy one-liners, that's probably supposed to happen. The music is bitchin', by the way. And then, but I might not notice those things if it weren't for some of the problems with the action, right? So, like, if I wasn't pulled out of the story either from let's say I wasn't pulled out of the story from a cheesy one-liner and go, oh, okay, and then maybe I would have been more engaged and I would not notice some of the stunt work, and vice versa. If I see some of the flaws in the stunt work, again, not blaming the stunt team, just, compared to other things that we watch these days, you can see better stuff out there, but obviously probably has a much bigger budget. So if a stunt didn't pull me out of the suspension of disbelief, maybe I wouldn't notice some of the script problems, right? And the acting, I think, is actually plenty fine. Some of it's a little rushed, obviously. Again, studio rental time, set rental time, camera rental time, whatever the issues are, who knows. So that's what I have to say about Cobra Kai. Check it out. I think it actually is a really good thing from a martial artist's standpoint. Now, what's one of the other subjects of my podcast? I do nature, and I do trucking, and I do martial arts. There's my martial arts thing. Let's go with nature. I don't have a lot to say right now, other than the fact that I'm absolutely obsessed with bonsai trees, and I will find a way to bring that into the podcast, but I need to do one first, so I don't know how to do that right now. In Colorado, if you live in Colorado, nature's about to really screw you, according to the weatherman. The other day I looked at the weather and it said 100 degrees on, I think, Wednesday or something like that, and then like 26 degrees the next day, snowing, and like 18 inches of snow. Yeah. Now, I think that they changed it. They're still expecting a lot of snow, but I think that they said that the high in like Milliken is going to be like 40 on that day, and that the high the day before is going to be in the 90s, and who knows how much it'll change. We're still looking at a few days out. In Colorado, you can't predict it for nothing, but it's just to go to show you that I've seen crazier things happen, and Mother Nature is a bad bitch, and she might be messing with us this week, guys. Get ready for it. I'm not trying to bring in the weather report, but this is a thing to think about. This is right during the first part of hunting season, and I really hope people don't get stuck in there, and I'm wondering if I should take the day off so I could just be ready to hop in the search and rescue teams, which I haven't done in years, and I never was really officially part of the search and rescue teams. But what I'm getting at is you know, get ready, guys. And if you're going out into the hills and into the woods and stuff like that, if you're going hunting, pack the right stuff. Get some warm weather shit or cold weather shit, because it's going to be bad. No matter what, it's going to be something. Trucking. State of trucking right now. We're getting ready for the holiday rush. We are about to start getting hit. We've already been hauling candy for a few weeks now for Halloween, so there's a big rush going on with that. But unfortunately, because of other things like for example these COVID shutdowns, we got some contractors flooding into the grocery market a little bit because you know, when between the COVID shutdowns, that makes it to where actually some of the loads that be going to some of these bigger stores, if you've noticed, some of the shelves are a little bare, even at your bigger grocery stores sometimes. And the reason why is some of the loads that would be going to there from this, that, and the other supplier isn't getting there because they can't fill a trailer, right? So they take orders, and that takes a certain amount of space in a trailer, and then because these other businesses are shut down, some of them in some parts of the industry, they can't fulfill orders. And then the same thing goes with any place that's been seeing riots and stuff. Any place that's been damaged to the point where they can't open yet, again, you've just screwed up. Like if you're one of the people doing that, I'm not saying don't, you know, protest. I'm saying when you damage a business, you're screwing with the supply chain, because then the store that you didn't mess with might not be able to get an opportunity to make their orders, because their routes might not be going over there, or they will have to pay a lot more, and then next thing you know, your ramen doesn't cost only a nickel anymore, it costs $1.50. What are you going to do, right? So, you know, people be ready for how this stuff is going to go. You know, we got the holiday rush, but then at the same time, you got all these other factors that we've never seen before. So let's, if you're a trucker, be ready for the rush, but then also be ready for the downtime, because we don't know what we're going to see. We've never, this is unprecedented. We've never seen this before. So, yeah. That's pretty much all I have to say, everybody. I hope you guys all have a good day. And if you're watching the video version of this, pardon the ambiance. It's not exactly what I wanted. And hopefully I'll be getting the guests in soon. I've been having a big missed high five with my professor. And he wanted to be the first guest. And we got a subject to talk about. So hopefully that's coming up around the corner for you guys. And I'll get this up as soon as I'm done with this load. Have a good day, everybody, and get out there, train hard, drive safe, don't underestimate Mother Nature.